Hey guys, so today I'm going to be reviewing the Focal Clears. So at the time of recording, these cost about $790. They can often be had online for around $800 to $1,000, and I have seen these typically go on the used market for about $500 to $700, so that's about the price that you can expect to pay for the Focal Clears. Now, as far as the build quality goes on the Focal Clears, I find them to be really good. The only problem I have is, I'll try to show it on the camera real quick, that I do have some issues with. If you can see inside of here, sometimes there will get dust or something inside of there. The only other problem I have with the build of these is, as you can see, if you've seen pictures online and stuff, this does not stay white, and these pads discolor quickly too. It's just the material they use on the headphone. Now, everything else feels really well put together. I love that it has this is a 3.5. I know it has something around it, but it's a standard 3.5mm connection. And so it's also really well built. It has the Focal logos right here, and it's got very nice clicks. So very satisfying clicks. And it's got the springs in here, so it'll adjust to your head really well. But yeah, overall really good. This is metal, and most of the build on this feels like it's metal. I don't know if this piece right here is plastic, but this is all a metal grill right here, and it just looks really beautiful. If you can see, it even says clear on it. So these are built really well. Like I said, the only problems I have is that coloration. It will discolor over time. There's pretty much nothing you can do unless you put a cover or something over it. But yeah, very comfortable on my head too. As you can see, the pads are very plush. So yeah, for me, this gets a pass from the build quality department. So on to the sound of these headphones. So if I describe the sound of these headphones in one word, it would be dynamic. These sound very dynamic, and especially I went and upgraded to the HE1000 V2s. And coming back to the clears from the HE1000 V2s, I just noticed how on these, I just noticed how dynamic they can sound in the bass. They can sound very thumpy and rich, and yeah, it's not boosted bass at all. They just sound very thumpy and rich and dynamic. So if you're really a person who likes thump in your music and doesn't want a bunch of bloat or boosted lower or bass frequencies, these are going to be great headphones for that. So as far as the mid-range goes on the Focal Clears, they're going to be very natural and organic sounding on these. So I think that if you're going to use something like a tube amp with the Focal Clears, they make a really good pairing. I've actually been using the X Duo TA26 with my Focal Clears, and I've been really loving that pairing. There's a couple of different tubes that I've been using. One of them is the A-Pulse Array, and I don't remember what the air tube was, but it's a Russian tube, and to me, tube amps just make a really great pairing with the Focal Clears. Now, as far as mid-range goes on the Focal Clears, they're going to sound very natural and organic. So I think these would make a very good pairing if someone wants to do like a tube amp or something. I've actually been really enjoying these with my tube amp. I've been using them with the X Duo TA26, and I think that's a really good pairing for these. It makes the headphones sound very natural and organic, and it brings down the highs a little bit, makes these sound a tad more warm. I think that's a really great pairing with the Focal Clears. Now, as far as voices go, voices sound very clear and separated from the mix on the Focal Clears. So everything just sounds like it should, and what you would expect from a headphone in this price range. One thing I did notice about the Focal Clears though is that it does not have as much resolution to kind of give you. So while they talk about where some people talk about where some expensive headphones, you can kind of hear if song is mixed very poorly, you can kind of hear that in the headphone. It's very revealing. I don't really get that on the Clears. I don't get that much. So I noticed that on most headphones that are like above $1,000, but on the Focal Clears, I don't really notice it as much. So these are not as resolving as something like I had just mentioned, the HE1000s. But with that being said, for the price, these are very, very detailed for the price. They beat out like most stuff I've heard under $500, and anything you're going to think of that's like really popular, kind of like a Sudara or Bear Dynamics or anything like that. These will definitely beat that out in terms of resolution. Now, one area you may find the Focal Clears lacking is the soundstage. These don't have the widest soundstage. They are going to be a little bit better than something like a Sennheiser 6XX, where they talk about the 3 blob effect. These are going to kind of give you like a globe around your head, but it's not going to be very wide. So it's not going to be a very wide or open headphone. Now, I would describe the soundstage about average. It's not going to be as wide as something like a Hi-Fi and Ananda or a lot of really open headphones, but it is, like I said, going to be wider than the 600 series, some Beyerdynamics like the DT990, DT770, all that stuff. So if I was going to purchase a pair of focal clears for myself, I don't think I'd purchase them based on soundstage, but I have enjoyed the clears for hours and hours on end of gaming, so these can definitely get the job done if you're trying to game. But if all you care about is gaming and soundstage, there are other headphones that might do that a little bit better. Now, as far as the treble goes, things just sound correct to my ears on the focal clears. On the clears, things sound very correct. I've never heard anything really sound sibilant or any of that sibilanty sounds. I don't really find that to be a problem with the focal clears. But one thing you may find is if you're used to headphones with a lot more treble, like Beyerdynamics, like some hi-fi mins, you may find these a bit lacking. I don't ever find them lacking in quality, but in quantity, you may find the treble lacking a bit. Personally, I don't, but if you're someone who is used to a lot of treble, these may be a little bit lacking for you. Now, under the comparisons, I think the number one comparison, the thing I'm going to compare it to in this video, is the HD 6XX. I think that the 600 series is probably the biggest comparison to the clears, and the reason I would say that is because if you're looking to upgrade from something like this, the clear is usually the next logical step because they're both dynamic drivers. It's going to give you a very kind of, I would say, a similar sound, but if you're looking for something with like better bass and stuff like, and maybe a little bit better treble extension than something like the 6XX, then the clear is definitely going to give it to you. Now, the one reason I would be kind of a little bit hesitant to recommend the clear to someone who has a 6XX or HD 600 is I think those are going to have a little bit of a better mid-range, so they're going to sound a little bit more natural. The timbre is going to be a little bit better. So for something like vocals or things like that, the 6XX and 600 actually will sound a bit better and more like natural per se. They would sound a bit more natural than the focal clears. That's kind of how I'd word it. But for anything else like build quality, bass, treble extension, I think that the focal clears have the 6XX beat. I haven't heard an HD 600 myself. I've heard the 58X and the 6XX. And the focal clear has both those headphones beat on most fronts. I just would give the slight edge to the 6XX when it comes to that mid-range and timbre. So in conclusion, I really love the focal clears. They're one of my favorite headphones of all time. I don't think I'll ever get rid of them. I'll always have a pair in my collection. They're very easy to drive. They pair well with tubes. They're very comfortable, at least on my head. And I think that they're just a great overall headphone. Now, while I would recommend these to a ton of people, let me start off with the people that I would not recommend this to. Now, the main people I would not recommend this to is people who have a 6XX or have an HD 600 and just love that mid-range, the mid-range you get with that. So I think that it's not going to be as good on the clear. But if you're somebody who has an HD 600 or a 6XX and you want better bass, better treble extension, better build quality, then make the jump and it will definitely be worth it. That was the main reason actually that got me to want to try the clears. I had the 6XX and it was my daily driver for a long time. I love this headphone, but I upgraded because I wanted to get better bass out of them. They just don't have great bass. Anybody who's heard them, it's not going to have the best bass. And so when you jump up to something like the clear, it's going to have a lot better bass. It's a lot more thumpy, dynamic. And that's actually who I'd recommend the clear to. If you're somebody who wants something that's very dynamic sounding, very rich, and you love dynamic drivers, then this is the headphone for you. But if you're somebody who wants like a plain arm magnetic, then I would just not look at this at all, because this is going to give you a very good dynamic driver sound, and it's going to give you a good dynamic representation of your music or whatever you're listening to. I also wouldn't recommend this to somebody who does prioritize soundstage and imaging. I think there are some other headphones that would be better for that, even at this price range. But overall, that's kind of what I think of the focal clears. Call me biased if you want. I love these headphones. One of my favorite headphones of all time. I don't think I'll ever get rid of them. I used to own the Focal Celestes, and the only thing that made me sell the Celestes was I wasn't using them anymore. I had the clears. So I don't ever think I'll sell these headphones. I love them. I use them on solid states, tubes, and they're just really great headphones. So that's going to do it for today. That's all I have to say, and that was my review of the Focal clears.